Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the second video in the irregular series that I occasionally produce called Budget Bracket Busting. Now, today I found that there was a recent 5.0 Storm list that is currently $55 for a deck online. And basically the reason that it is so cheap, if we compare it to, I don't know, we'll say this list up here, which is slightly more expensive, it appears that it's basically just the mana base and some sideboard options potentially that are more expensive. But we're going to play some Gift Storm today. This is a tier deck. This is a deck that can win. It can 5-0. In fact, it does so semi-frequently, even now. But it's really cheap. The cards for it are not that expensive. I see even like Manamorphose and Baral are probably the two most expensive cards in the deck right now. Except maybe Past in Flames, I suppose. But the entire deck, like under $100 is generally considered budget for a deck, for a full deck, and we're looking at half that. So we're going to play some Gift Storm for budget bracket busting today. Now, I am not a master of Gift Storm. I do not understand all of the intricate lines, but I've gotten better from playing some janky Storm lists recently. I have a slightly better understanding of what I'm supposed to be doing at any given time. One of the things I think is hilarious is in this sideboard we have one of the meanest Storm cards that nobody plays. Volcanic Awakening, which is Stone Rain with the word Storm on it. So, I don't know that we need too much of a deck tech here. For those of you that don't know what Storm is, I'll do like a really quick one. The idea is you kill your opponent with Grape Shot, and Storm is a mechanic that says for each time you've cast a spell this turn, copy this spell and put it on the stack. You can choose new targets for it. So if you cast 20 spells, you can then cast a Grape Shot and do 21 damage to your opponent's face. And to facilitate that, we have a bunch of spells that are easy to cast a bunch of spells in one turn. We have Rituals that are just spells that give you more mana or as much mana as they're normally worth. Manamorphose, which is basically a free spell. It refunds itself. Opt, Serum Vision, some cheap cantrips to help dig through the deck. We have Celundi Vision, which is kind of an impulse / tap land when we need it sort of spell. This card is really good if you have multiple cost reducers out. It's just like the most insane 1-mana blue spell that ever existed. We have Gifts Ungiven, which we can use to get powerful gifts piles. So like you can search for Desperate Ritual, Pyretic Ritual, Manamorphose, Past in Flames, and then like no matter what happens, you're guaranteed to cast all of the spells that you got. So it's 4 mana to get 4 cards and put some cards in the grave. You can use it to tutor up your win condition in Past in Flames. And just in general, do some nasty stuff with it. Then we have Baral and Goblin Electromancer, which the primary text on them is instant sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. So you reduce the cost of your powerful spells and you cast more spells in a turn. And the ideal Storm hand kills your opponent on turn 3. Turn 1, you cast a cantrip to help set up your hand. Turn 2, you play Baral, you play Goblin Electromancer. Turn 3, you start casting, you turn your Pyretic Rituals into Dark Rituals, so they're 1 mana, get 3 mana back, and that is an incredibly powerful situation to be in. One of the other, I think, budget considerations in this deck is we're running Unsubstantiate instead of Remand. They do similar things. Remand counters and then cantrips and synergizes with Baral slightly better because Baral has trinket text for when you counter a spell. Unsubstantiate's kind of just like Unsummon for spells. It does a very similar thing. You just don't draw a card, which is probably one of the budget considerations when building this list. So out of the sideboard, we can side out like Gifts Ungiven for pieces of the puzzle if our opponent has Grave Hate. And like we have Empty the Warrens and Lightning Bolts if we need to just go all in Mono Red Storm like early on. And yeah, I don't really have much else to say, so let's go ahead and take this Gift Storm list into a competitive Modern League and see how we do. I did not do any practice prior to this, so if I absolutely suck for the first match or two, please forgive me. I love playing Storm. I'm not terribly good at the modern version of it, and really not really that great at any version of it, except what I can draft in Vintage Cube, because it's fun. So I will see you all in round 1. Alrighty, round 1, here we go. I would love to play first. I think this is a pretty good Storm hand. One more Ritual, and we can do kind of a big Empty the Warrens play. So I'm going to keep this. It's not like some crazy absolutely destroy my opponent, but if my opponent doesn't, have turn 1 interaction and we draw another Ritual, we can turn 2 big Empty the Warrens here. This opponent plays a Chromatic Star to start. It looks like they are the Jeskai, what's the name? Emery deck. We're going to pass this turn and just leave up Unsubstantiate. Okay, opponent plays Mishra's Bauble, plays an Arid Mesa into an Emery, which I will Unsubstantiate and make them pick it back up. If they have like a Metallic Rebuke, we're going to make them hold that up this turn. Otherwise, if they just try and land Emery, we're going to go for like a big Empty the Warrens. Okay, they play Emery. They mill some cards. They mill Engineered Explosives. Really? Okay, they look at a top card of our deck. We draw Pyretic Ritual. That is super, super annoying because we were like, oh yeah, we're going to do this big Empty the Warrens, and our opponent has something that blows up all the tokens we could produce. And they can just do it next turn. They can just replay it out of the grave. So the question is, do I go for it? Do I wait? I don't think I can wait here. I think I actually have to try and draw something with Manamorphose. If we can find a way to kill Emery, there is a chance, or if we can draw an Unsubstantiate, that is, there is a chance that we can get Emery off the board. So we're going to start by casting a Pyretic Ritual. Then we're going to Manamorphose into blue-red. Then we're going to Manamorphose into red-blue. We draw an Unsubstantiate, so we can go up to 4-5 mana this turn. We need to get one more Ritual, and if we can, it's just we're golden. So play Riverglide Pathway, Manamorphose into, we'll say red-red. Did not get it. That sucks. We're 1 mana away from bouncing Emery and then making a ton of tokens. Maybe I should have waited for a turn. That may have been correct. I'm not miscounting or anything, I don't think. Alright, well, we're going to Desperate Ritual, and we're going to Empty the Warrens. Make a bunch of tokens. And this would have been good versus literally any other deck and like any other combination of cards being milled off of Emery. Maybe they don't see it. That could be a thing that happens. Opponent cracks for white. They replay Explosives on 0. They blow up Explosives. Okay. They play Mox Amber, Mishra's Bauble, Chromatic Star. Alright, we untap. They look at the top card of our deck. We draw Past in Flames. Past in Flames is potentially very absurd. We need to draw... We need to get up to 2 more mana than we have, or we need to draw a cost reducer to get this to work. I think we need a cost reducer and a ritual. I'm not sure if we have enough time to do that. So we're going to pass the turn, leave up Unsubstantiate. Unsubstantiating Emery there was an option, but yeah, if I can draw a red source and a ritual, I think we're good to go. Gifts Ungiven could work if we don't die in the interim here. 3 mana, opponent plays Teferi. I'm going to bounce Teferi. Opponent plays an island. Crack Star for blue. I could like replay Star here. They play Aether Spellbomb. Okay. Well, we draw a red source. So play Steam Vents. Any land or ritual gets us to where we want to go now. As long as my opponent doesn't have like an Engineered Explosive sitting on board when we combo, we should be able to bounce Emery in addition to casting basically whatever we want. As long as my opponent doesn't have like Teferi and a counterspell here, we're probably fine. Opponent picks up Mox Amber, replays Mox Amber, plays a Mountain, and they replay Grinding Station. And now all they need is Underworld Breach, so we basically have to draw something to kill them this turn. Second Past in Flames does not do it. Unfortunately, I think we just missed the window here. So, we had a really good Storm hand, and it would have beaten a lot of decks. It just didn't beat my opponents. We're technically not dead yet if they don't have a counterspell and they don't have an Underworld Breach. I can't imagine how they wouldn't have an Underworld Breach at this point, but I guess it is possible. I am just going to scoop to an Underworld Breach. Well, it's not like my opponent's gone infinite yet, though they do have a lot of looks to find what they're looking for. They sat Grinding Station to itself. They're really in the tank right now. They might be worried that we have a counterspell. Are they playing a new instance of Teferi? They're playing Lurrus. Okay. They play Bauble out of the grave. They crack Bauble. So it looks like they may not have the combo this turn. They've not milled any of the metallic rebukes, though, which tells me they're probably holding one. Alright, opponent passes. They draw a card. We draw an Electromancer. Problem is, Electromancer, while it is good, does not stop my opponent from winning, I don't think. Yeah, we have to just pass now. My opponent can just replay Seal of Fire as well. But I can't imagine them just not winning here. Okay, there it is. Okay. So, my opponent is playing an Emery deck. Let me look up a list for what my opponent is playing. I have a somewhat decent idea. We're going to try to... It's interesting because there's like no 5-0 lists for my opponent's deck in any recent time span, but I've seen people playing this deck, so I'm wondering if it took down some tournament somewhere. I think we want Lightning Bolt and Abrade. It's possible we want Mystical Dispute. Unsubstantiate seems not great, but it is part of like the, you know, Grape Shot, Unsubstantiate, Grape Shot combo kind of thing. Empty the Warrens felt really bad. This is not a place for Volcanic Awakening. Let me think here. We brought in 4 cards. Probably go down to 1 Unsubstantiate. My opponent is going to have Grave Hate, but I don't know what kind of Grave Hate. It's going to be artifact-based, of course, but I don't know if it's Tormod's Crypt, Relic, or... I don't know if it's Tormod's Crypt, Relic, or if it's... Crap, what's the other one? Grafdigger's Cage. Grafdigger's Cage would be the hardest for us to deal with, I think. I could try and go on a 2-and-2 split here with pieces of the puzzle and Gifts Ungiven, but this is where I struggle the most, I think. I don't really want to cut any cantrips. Noxious Revival is kind of funny. You can use it offensively versus your opponent's deck in this situation. I think I'm going to cut down to 1 Lightning Bolt, and I'm not going to run Unsubstantiate at all. I'm going to try and go on like a more proactive style of combo here, rather than trying to react to what my opponent is doing. So this hand has no rituals, a Past in Flames, we have 3 lands, and a Serum Visions to help us get set up. I think we have better 6s, really? Okay, this is potentially a very strong hand. I'm going to keep this. I'm going to put back Noxious Revival. We're going to play Shivan Reef, and then start casting Serum Visions, hoping to hit a 2nd land to play out some cost reducers. We're going to need some card advantage after we get to the cost reducers. This is kind of a slow hand, but it's got a Braid, so hopefully we can slow our opponent down. There's a Past in Flames. We likely will not need the 2nd Baral, so I think both of these go to the bottom. Worth noting, if you're not playing a version that has Scalding Tarn or Misty Rainforest in it, if you scry something to the bottom with Serum Visions, you're not going to see it again. Unless you dig all the way through your deck in some crazy storm. Which is possible, it's just not something that you should rely on. Okay, opponent starts Serum Visions. Now, out of my opponent, I saw Seal of Fire. Because they play Lurrus, that's something that they can get out of the grave relatively easily. So, they also play Galvanic Blast, judging on memory from the last time I saw this deck. So what we're going to do is this turn we're going to play Baral, because Baral is more likely to survive and doesn't require us to damage ourselves to get red mana. Not this turn, anyway. Next turn we could cast Serum Visions, we could cast a Braid if we needed to. Okay, opponent plays Bauble. And right now we're looking for like a Pieces of the Puzzle or a Gifts Ungiven or another card advantage spell, more land. Opponent plays an Aether Spellbomb and passes. We untap, they draw a card, we draw a Grape Shot, play Serum Visions, we draw Steam Vents, there's a Repeal on top of the deck. I don't think I want to draw another Steam Vents here. And I don't really want to draw a Repeal either. So I'm going to put both of these on the bottom, go to combat, attack for 1. See if I can't get them to crack Aether Spellbomb. Okay. So in that case, we're going to play Steam Vents, and we're going to play Goblin Electromancer. Multiple cost reducers is one of the best situations to be in this deck. And actually, for budget concerns, it's almost worth dumping one of the Brawls for a 4th Electromancer. Because if you're not playing Reband, the only thing Brawl has over Goblin Electromancer is the extra point of toughness, which is not as relevant because the premier damage removal spell of the format does 3 damage, so it will kill both. If you're not running Remands and you're running Unsubstantiates, you probably want 4 Goblin Electromancer, 3 Brawl, because it's very rare that they're going to block anyway. So we play Brawl. We could do a Grape Shot here just to kill Emery. I actually think I'm going to do that and save a Braid. Go to combat, hit our opponent for 2. It's fine to have a Grape Shot in the grave, even when you're expecting Grave Hate, because this version plays multiple. If you're going for like a big gifts or big pieces of the puzzle play, you should be able to get to enough mana to find and cast the other one. Okay. Opponent plays a Luris. They're going to replay Mishra's Bauble. We untap. They're going to draw an extra card on the next turn. They get to see what we draw. It's a Desperate Ritual. I really just want to kill Luris here, because it gives them access to so much. We're playing a really, really bad tempo right now. We have mana, though, so really once we just draw, even if I can get like a Salundi Vision, something like that, we can start doing some real shenanigans with multiple cost reducers. It's really crazy to me that this was the deck. The deck that I'm playing right now is the deck that got Gitaxian Probe banned. That and like all-in Death Shadow abusing free card draw is just free card draw and the peak effect. It's crazy to me. So my opponent played a Scalding Tarn, fetched up a land. They replay Bauble from the grave and they cast Serum Visions. They had another Luris. Yeah, we need to draw some kind of dig spell here. We untap. They're looking at what we're drawing. Get a Serum Visions. Cast Serum Visions. We draw a land. Opt an island to the bottom. We're kind of to the spot that I could have kept Opt, but... pass the turn. Because we have enough mana, maybe that was correct. Just using Opt to dig a little bit further than a natural draw would otherwise. Let's see. I mean, I guess if it were Serum Visions, maybe that would be better, because it would dig you deeper than if you were just drawing naturally. Serum Visions would get you to where you were going to go and set up new card draws. Keeping Opt is about as good as drawing naturally, because you have to deny yourself a draw to get yourself a scry and a draw. So you're really only getting a scry out of the deal. Probably not worth it for the mana. Unfortunately, it looks like my opponent is going to be setting up here rather quickly. So we need a big top deck here. Unless they have Mox Amber and can just play Underworld Breach out of the grave. Okay, they're attacking us with the Luris. We're not going to block. Alright, we untap, they draw a card, we draw Manamorphose. Alright. Well, Manamorphose into red-blue. Mana everywhere. Nothing to do with it. Oh man, double cost reducer, double Desperate Ritual. So like, that's 2 mana, get 6 mana, and then still have a Desperate Ritual in hand? That's crazy. Alright, go to combat. Attack. But next turn, they just play Underworld Breach, and I think we lose. Because they have Grinding Station, they can play multiple things out of grave. So unless they, for some reason, don't go for it here. So they play Teferi. We F6 because we're not doing anything. They play Underworld Breach out of the grave. Okay, and they even have the Mox Amber so they can start building up the mana. I'm not going to make them play out the combo. I know I'm dead here. Alright, I will see you all in round 2. Alrighty, round 2, here we go. Well, we have an Opt to Sculptor Hand, Pyretic Ritual, and a Manamorphose. And a cost reducer, so really we just need like a Gifts Ungiven in this hand is great. It should get us where we need to go. My opponent did mulligan to 5, which is probably good news for us. And we are playing against Tron. Now, historically, this is a good matchup for mono blue, or I mean blue-red storm. So we're going to start with an island, pass the turn. I'm going to crack Sphere for green, plays a Power Plant and Ancient Stirrings. They find a Karn Great Creator. Well, I really, really hope that they don't have Tron, because if they do, they can wish for Trinisphere, and that's probably going to be game. Serum Visions to the bottom here. We draw land, untap. We draw Manamorphose. So I'm going to play Steam Vents tapped, pass the turn. Really, really pray they don't have Tron. Wow. 7 mana, opponent plays Karn Liberated. They take Steam Vents from us. We untap and draw River Glide Pathway, the promo version that I happen to get. Okay. So we basically have to try and combo right now, which we can do. So I'm going to play the promo Lava Glide Pathway, Pyretic Ritual, Manamorphose into red-blue, play Baral, Manamorphose into red-blue. We opt here, Mountain to the bottom, Manamorphose to red-blue. That was a valiant effort, but we just did not draw what we needed to draw. And my opponent had the Tron nuts, so we'll go ahead and scoop it up. So versus the Tron opponent, we're going to bring in Ashiok. This is probably not a Volcanic Awakening hand, or Volcanic Awakening deck. We're going to bring in a Braid. We probably want Echoing Truth. Unsubstantiate is not going to be good here at all. If it were Remand, Remand actually might be, but Unsubstantiate also can be played as a tech choice to get around Veil of Summer. Gigadrows can take them off of their, like, traditional turn 3 Tron plays. Is it better than anything else we're doing right now? So we may want to run the Pieces of the Puzzle setup instead of the Gifts Ungiven setup, simply because our opponent could be playing Relics in the main deck. It's hard to know because there isn't, at least I haven't checked in a while, there shouldn't be a like standardized build of Tron right now. There's kind of like 3 or 4 different potential lists my opponent could be playing. So I'm going to go ahead and try and make a quick peek at what the list could be. So Mono Green plays 4 Relic of Progenitus, 4 Relic of Progenitus, no Relics of Progenitus, 2 Relics of Progenitus. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to side out gifts. We're going to bring in 3 Pieces of the Puzzle and an Emptied Warrens. And we're going to go down 1... I think I'm only going to bring in 1 Upbraid. We'll try it like this. Alright, we'll play first. The odds that my opponent has Grave Hate is just too high for us to continue to like rely on gifts. Alright, this hand's not amazing, but I am going to keep it. We'll put back River Glide Pathway and start Serum Visions. We're hoping for a cost reducer. We draw Echoing Truth. Another Pieces of the Puzzle and an Opt. I'm going to put Pieces of the Puzzle on the bottom and leave Opt on top. Pass the turn. I don't think I'm going to need to Echoing Truth, but I will Echoing Truth that. So the question is, do we think they have the turn 3 Tron? Is it good to unsummon the map here? We potentially can put them back a whole turn, and we're not going to need it for a relic anyway. The only thing that we might need Echoing Truth for is if my opponent has turn 3 Tron into Karn into Wish for Trinisphere. Then I would regret probably putting back the map because I don't know if I can assemble it in time. But I think just taking them off of a whole turn here is probably worth it, so I'm going to do it. Okay, my opponent had guaranteed turn 3 Tron. So if they have Sphere into Ancient Stirrings, that would be bad for us. It doesn't look like they do. We untap. We draw Serum Visions. We start Opt with like a land and a cost reducer here. Opt to the bottom. Draw Desperate Ritual. Serum Visions. We draw land. There's an island and an Opt on top of our deck. I'm going to put both of those on the bottom. And we're going to play a Steam Vents tapped. Pass the turn. And next turn, if we could draw... I guess if we could draw Baral or... Wow, they have it anyway. Yeah, there's just nothing I can do about that. That definitely beats us and makes me regret the whole Echoing Truth plan. It's ridiculous. We have Repeal in the deck, so we're not 100% out of this yet, but we are very, very close. So start with pieces of the puzzle. We can get a Salundi Vision and a Serum Visions. Play Salundi Isle. There was some notion that I need to keep that in hand to try and dig for Repeal, but I don't know. If my opponent has like a Karn liberated here, we're probably just done. Grafdigger's Cage we don't care about, because we set up to try and win from hand, not from grave. That being a liquid metal coating would have hurt a lot. Opponent plays an Oblivion Stone, that's fine. We're not going to try and win with tokens if we can avoid it. So cast a Serum Visions. We could Grape Shot to kill Karn, but there's pieces of the puzzle and a Pyretic Ritual. A Braid to the bottom, pieces of the puzzle to the top. Play an island, pass the turn. So opponent is going to crack Expedition Map here. They get an Urza's Tower. They have to not have a threat that kills us in one turn, and we need to draw Repeal. Okay, that sucks. They take a red land. Denying us red mana would basically end us here as well. Okay. Cast pieces of the puzzle. We're still looking for Repeal. Noxious Revival and second Grape Shot. Noxious Revival, we can get back Echoing Truth. Problem is, if I do that, I have to spend 3 mana. They can just recast it. We're losing all of our red mana. I guess I have to try. We'll take Noxious Revival, we'll take Grape Shot. Now the problem is, Noxious Revival costs 3 mana and 2 life, and we are out of red mana after this turn. That is if my opponent doesn't uptick Karn. If they uptick Karn, we give them Pyretic Ritual, I think. They put a Fate counter on Trinisphere. Sure. There wasn't a Braid in that pile. Why did I not take the Abrade? Wasn't there. I mean, it doesn't matter, because my opponent was carning away all of our red mana, but... yeah, in general, I'd say that we're probably... Even with the addition of Karn Great Creator, so like the matchup used to be like 90% Storm favor. We're probably still 70 to 75% favored to win that. My opponent just happened to have the nuts both times. I don't necessarily know what I'm doing. And we did not have crazy Storm hands. So, alright, I'll see you round 3. Alrighty, round 3, here we go. Alrighty, we'll play first. I mean, this hand's got potential, but it's very top deck reliant. I think I'm going to keep, because we do have a Ritual, we have Grape Shot, we have Cost Reducer. Best top decks now would be just like, I guess, cantrips. So start Steam Vents tapped, pass the turn. Opponent plays a Wooded Foothills, cracks Wooded Foothills for a Blood Crypt tapped. We untap and draw Empty the Warrens. I probably should have played Riverglide Pathway there, actually, because if my opponent's on Death Shadow, I shouldn't have lost any life. They're not playing Lurrus, so they could just be regular Jund. I think Jund wants to play a threat on turn 2 rather than a removal spell or a hand hate spell, but we'll see. Izzet Storm is one of those frustrating things to me where it's like, it seems like whenever my opponent plays it, they just always have it. They have turn 3 Cost Reducer Ritual into like crazy shenanigans. And whenever I play it, it's always like, what am I supposed to do with this hand? Which is just very indicative that I have no idea what I'm doing with the deck. My opponent could even be on Dredge if they cast Life from the Loam here. Or Cathartic Reunion. It is Dredge. Alright, they dredge 2 Creeping Chills. So they're getting back a Silver Smote Ghoul this turn. Okay, we untap. We draw an Opt. So go ahead and start Opt. Mountain to the bottom. Desperate Ritual. Okay. Do I want to go for like an Empty the Warrens play this turn? I guess I should. So Manamorphose for... I guess it doesn't really matter. Manamorphose first into red-blue. Get Brawl. Play Shivan Reef. Play Brawl. Cast Desperate Ritual. Grape Shot my opponent for like 5. Then we'll make a big wall of tokens. and hit our opponent for 2. I mean, as far as like turn 3 storm hands go, it wasn't like the nuts, but it was fairly decent. We ended up with a lot of power, and we should be able to at least race. My opponent's hand wasn't like super fast or anything. Hit them for 2. Plus, there's always the chance that we just like top deck Gifts Ungiven and completely obliterate our opponent. Okay, opponent plays a land to get back a Bloodghast. They Shriekhorn, mill themselves. They could Conflagrate, kill a cost reducer and 3 tokens. Or they could shoot us. That would also be a valid play. Or they could go for... They can't quite go for an Ox Dredge here. Opponent has 1 blocker, and we could hit them for 14 next turn. Okay, they Conflagrate, pitching their whole hand, killing a bunch of tokens, so that they can try and race. That's actually pretty reasonable. Next turn, they can get back the Ox, dredge a bunch. So we're going to start with Salundi Vision. See what we can get. Gifts Ungiven, Unsubstantiate, Desperate Ritual, Serum Visions. I guess we got to go with Gifts Ungiven. Play Riverglide Pathway. Gifts Ungiven, target our opponent. Then we can go Desperate Ritual, Pyretic Ritual, Noxious Revival, Manamorphose? No, that's not what we want. Hang on. Let me think about this. We only have 1 mana, 2 cost reducers. We need mana, and we need, like, a Past in Flames to, like, actually just kill our opponent. So if I go Past in Flames, Manamorphose, Desperate Ritual, Pyretic Ritual, what does our opponent give us? They're going to give us Past in Flames, Manamorphose to try and cut us off of mana. So if I go with Manamorphose, Desperate Ritual, Pyretic Ritual, and Noxious Revival, they could give us the rituals, and we wouldn't really be able to draw anything off of Noxious Revival. I could just go for 4 cantrips. We don't have any Grave Hate. I could go for a Gifts Ungiven, Manamorphose, Pyretic Ritual, Desperate Ritual. I think the best bet is just to get the Ritual hand and Past in Flames, actually. We're just not doing anything else with it this turn. It's hard for me to think that, like, Gift Storm wasn't even the best version of the deck originally. Originally, the deck played... I literally think it just played, like, a whole bunch of cantrips in its place. We're going to attack with 5 tokens. Leave 2 tokens back for potential blocking / defense. Okay, we hit our opponent down to 10. Pass the turn. Like, if I Manamorphosed there and drew a ritual, I could actually Past in Flames and combo off, but I don't think the odds of that were very high. My opponent mills, they dredge. If they drew a land, they can play a land, get back Bloodghast, get back a whole bunch of amalgams, but we're going to kill them with Storm next turn anyway. Like, we have enough in our hand and in our grave to just kill our opponent. They get the Ox. They pitch their hand, it's an Imp. They dredge the Imp. They dredge the Loam. They Creeping Chill us. They attack and attack, so we're going to chump both of these. No reason to risk going lower than we are. Opponent gets back a bunch of stuff. We untap. We draw Baral. So start Manamorphose into red. I could repeal a token just for a card draw. I actually think I'm going to do that because our win isn't based on attacking here. We're just going to Grape Shot our opponent for lethal. We draw gifts. Nice. So Past in Flames for 2 mana. Desperate Ritual. Desperate Ritual. Pyretic Ritual. Manamorphose. Add blue. Manamorphose. Add blue-red. Manamorphose. Add red-blue. Serum Visions. Opt. Yeah, just put this all on top. I'm going to cast a lot of it. Go ahead and opt. Put this on top. Manamorphose. Add red-blue. Pyretic Ritual. And we're just going to go with the Grape Shot. If it doesn't work, we have enough that we can go find the other Grape Shot, flashback Past in Flames, and Grape Shot them again. Alright. Good to get a game win. Let's see if we can find a recent dredge list playing Silver Smote Ghoul. Not in Modern, we can't. Interesting. It's kind of weird, because, like, that people are playing all of these decks, none of which have a 5-0 in a long enough period of time that MTG Goldfish and MTG top decks, like, aren't reporting it. When the top 15% of the meta is playing a card called Uro. It's just like, all decks in the top 15% of the meta are playing that. It's just kind of weird to me. So, I guess we bring in Ashiok here. If our opponent is playing Grave Hate, what are they playing? They're playing Leyline of the Void. They could be playing Weather the Storm, actually. I think we're going to go for a big Empty the Warrens. Unsubstantiate here is probably just worse than Lightning Bolt or Echoing Truth. So I think this is the configuration we're going to play. I could still play like a Singleton Gifts Ungiven. Considering how tough it was to actually draw card advantage spells, I think that's correct. We're going to try it like this. I think I prefer playing Twiddle Storm to playing Izzet Storm. The combo is much more straightforward, and it's easy to identify when you have a hand that wins. Izzet Storm, the lines are more diverse, which I think makes it tougher for newer players to pick up. This hand is potentially good. We have an Opt to dig, but if we don't find anything, it's probably bad. I'm going to keep it and just hope I don't die on turn 2 or 3. Okay, opponent starts Arid Mesa, fetch Arid Mesa, find Stomping Ground untapped. They haggling. They haggle. Or they Shriekhorn, mill themselves. Double Silver Smote Ghoul. We draw Brawl. Brawl's promising. Play an island. Pass the turn. They mill themselves. They dredge. Golgari Thug. I don't really find anything. They play Arid Mesa. They crack Arid Mesa. So my opponent has a slow dredge hand, which is really good for the kind of hand that we kept. Is pretty much ideally what we were hoping for. Cathartic Reunion here, though, will speed them up quite a bit. So they're going to dredge Thug. Okay, they get access to their Silver Smote Ghouls this turn. This is the exact opposite of what we wanted to happen. Take everything I just said and throw it out the window. So we're going down to 14, and my opponent is putting at least 9 power on the board this turn. I'm going to opt now. Salundi Vision. I'm going to draw it. I kind of need a Manamorphose to make it work, but opponent gets back a bunch of ghouls. They don't have... what is it? Just to finish this off here, they don't have Conflagrate, it doesn't look like. I think we need as much mana as possible next turn. It's technically safer to leave Baral in hand, but if my opponent is able to do a little bit of damage here, and they can get back Bloodghast, we die. I actually think I need to play out Baral on the off chance that there's a slight percentage we're going to need him to block. We're probably losing anyway if he dies, and I think it's technically safer to leave him in hand. So maybe holding him in hand here is correct, just until next turn, because next turn we could play Baral, we could play Shivan Reef, and then we could, you know, Desperate Ritual up a million mana and Manamorphose and stuff. My opponent just milled 2 Conflagrates, so if we don't block, we die. That's how that works. Actually, even if we do block, we die. Because my opponent can just pitch the rest of their hand to that Conflagrate. We go down to 9, they attack. Even if we block 3-1 in power, we still take a total of 10. We're at 9 life, and we die. So we really didn't have a choice here. Nothing we did made a difference. I guess technically, excuse me? You killed Baral rather than killing me. I mean, I hope I can punish you for this, but that's frustrating. Alright. Pyretic Ritual, Desperate Ritual, Manamorphose into blue-red, Manamorphose into blue-red, Salundi Vision. We can find a Grape Shot or an Unsubstantiate. Grape Shot, we can ping down their board, but if they dredge and hit a Creeping Chill, we just die. Alright. Grape Shot, hit Silver Smote Ghoul, ping down their board. If they draw a land or they dredge... oh shoot, I should not have F6 because I won't get to play a land! I mean, we're dead anyway. There's like no way we survive this. But that was a mistake. I missed playing a land. Watch that actually come back to bite me too. So my opponent dredges something. Probably Loam. We're not dead to Loam, though. They can play a land and... Oh, no, we're dead to Loam because they can just play a land. And get back Bloodghasts. Well, that was frustrating. I'm going to restart the client so I don't have to deal with this lag because... overlapping sound effects are so loud. Moto, fix your shit. Okay. Yep. I don't really think we need to adjust. I think we're fine. Maybe we just play a Gifts Ungiven instead of an Opt. Like, just to have more access to the card advantage stuff. I'm going to restart the client. Alrighty, and we're back for game 3. I would love to play first. Okay, this is not a hand we can keep. We have one tapped blue source, and that is not enough. This hand also has nothing we can keep. I'm going to keep this pretty much out of desperation. So we're going to... I don't know if I mulligan to 5 or 4. We're going to keep 5 of these. We're going to put back Noxious Revival and empty the Warrens. We're going to start Steam Vents tapped into a Goblin Electromancer. And then hopefully we can like Manamorphose pieces of the puzzle our way into some kind of storm kill here. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They also mulligan to 4. Start Mountain. Pass. We draw empty. So play Riverglide Pathway. Play Electromancer. Top decking Empty the Warrens is pretty good. My opponent having Lightning Axe is terrible for us. If we had untapped with Electromancer there, there's a lot we could have done. So we want to top deck another cost reducer effect. Okay, opponent plays a Forgotten Cave tapped. We untap, we draw a Mountain. That is not a cost reducer effect, but it does allow us to cast pieces of the puzzle. Double Desperate Ritual is pretty good. That is a lot of mana. Okay, opponent does nothing. That's good news for us. We draw Serum Visions, so play Serum Visions. We draw Baral into an Island and Grape Shot. I think I put both of these to the bottom. And next turn we're going to play Baral into Rituals. We're not playing him out here because the odds that my opponent has enough removal to kill him is pretty high. So it looks like they have a Cathartic Reunion. They do. Pitching Amalgam and Loam, they dredge, but they don't hit anything of value. They can get back a Bloodghast, which does allow them to reanimate 2 prized Amalgams here. We have a real good chance of making a big board full of tokens. Okay, we untap. We draw Unsubstantiate. Play Baral. As long as they don't have another Lightning Axe here, we're probably fine. Play Desperate Ritual. Play Desperate Ritual. Manamorphose into double blue. Play an island. Unsubstantiate costs 1. I could unsubstantiate Baral, replay Baral, and then empty. Because that takes us down to 5. Baral takes us down to 3. Empty the Warrens costs 3. Alright. Get a whole bunch of tokens. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They can cast a Life from the Loam this turn. On their upkeep, they fetch with Wooded Foothills. Probably a Stomping Ground untapped. Okay, then loam some lands back. Then play a Copperline Gorge tapped. I mean, they could have attacked with a Bloodghast and got us to block, but... Alright, go to combat. Attack with everyone except Baral. They block 2 of them, they take 12 and go to 5. Opponent dredges Loam, putting a Stinkweed Imp in the grave, along with an Ox of Agonis. So they can do the Ox thing right now, if they wanted to, but they would not be able to leave Stinkweed Imp in the grave for that. Opponent could cast Loam first, picking up nothing, and then replay Ox, exiling Loam if they wanted to. That way they'd be able to dredge 5 instead of 3. That may have been better for them, but they did just find a Conflagrate. I think we still have them. They didn't hit any Creeping Chills. Or they did, but they didn't Creeping Chill? Did I miss something there? Because that wasn't left in... Oh, they discarded it from their hand. That's what happened. When they cast Ox, they discarded the Creeping Chill. It wasn't milled over. So my opponent could kill 3 tokens, block 3 more, and then die to the token damage. Alright, we got the match. Sweet. I'll see you guys in round 4. Alrighty, round 4, here we go. I mean, we've got a Cantrip, Cost Reducer, a little bit of protection. Although if my opponent's on Death Shadow, this hand's probably bad. We're on the draw. Alright, I'm going to keep. Oh, so it's hammer time. Okay. It's possible that Riverglide Pathway is actually going to be good here. Or not Riverglide Pathway, Unsubstantiate. I was like looking at Riverglide Pathway when I meant Unsubstantiate. Kano, Brain, come on. Let's go. Get in the game here. Opponent plays Mishra's Bauble, they crack it. They got a Memnite and a Springleaf Drum, so they can play something that costs 1 mana if they want. Alright. We untap and draw Gifts, which is a good draw. Play Riverglide Pathway, pass the turn. They play a Snow-Covered Plains. 3 mana. Put Lurrus into their hand. You're going to hit us for 1. Alright, let's go ahead and opt. Island. I think Island to the bottom. Can we draw a mountain? We untap. We get an opt. Play a mountain. I'm honestly just going to unsubstantiate and put Lurrus back in their hand when they cast it. If that's what my opponent does this turn. What was that noise? Opponent plays Arid Mesa. They crack Arid Mesa. Into a Plains. Opponent plays Lurrus. We say Yeet. And then our opponent plays a Giver of Runes. They attack us for 1. Manamorphose would be like best top deck here. Another Unsubstantiate, okay. Play Electromancer, pass the turn. See, if these Unsubstantiates were rebands, they'd actually be very good here. Unsubstantiate, though, does have a slight upside of getting around Cavern of Souls and I think Veil of Summer, like I mentioned earlier in the video. But here is where it really matters, because incidentally cantripping would make a big difference. So if you built this deck as a budget deck in the current configuration, Unsubstantiate into Remand would be one of the first things you could do besides trying to directly upgrade the mana base. Yeah, I'm going to Unsubstantiate because Lurrus costs so much relative to the rest of their deck. I think it's important. The only way that that's bad is if my opponent has a path in addition to that. Doesn't look like they do. We untap and draw Past in Flames. So we have 3 mana. We can make that 5 mana with this Desperate Ritual. And then we can Gifts Ungiven for 3 of that, having 2 mana left over. Okay. Alright, so we start Desperate Ritual. And then we cast Gifts. We're going to get the Ritual pile, minus Past in Flames because we're holding it. Path here would be unfortunate, but it looks like my opponent's just cracking Sunbaked Canyon. Okay, so we want Desperate Ritual, Manamorphose, Pyretic Ritual, and then probably just Grape Shot at this point. Or another Gifts, maybe. I'm going to take the Grape Shot. Usually when put in this situation, your opponent is going to dump the mana. Like, they're going to drop Pyretic Ritual, Desperate Ritual, because you have cost reducers and untapped mana. But since we have Noxious Revival and we have Manamorphose, it doesn't really matter if they do or if they don't. They give us Manamorphose and Grape Shot. Okay. So we're going to Noxious Revival, putting a Ritual on top of our deck, then draw it with Manamorphose. Paying life, of course. So Manamorphose into blue-red. Desperate Ritual. Past in Flames costs 3... So we can either Grape Shot our opponent or opt first. And honestly, just Grape Shot's probably good enough. Same targets. Okay, shoot our opponent for 6. And then... Past in Flames. Then Desperate Ritual. Pyretic Ritual. Oh, wait. We have to let this resolve. For some reason, that went to the stack instead of auto-resolving. My opponent hasn't F6'd yet. Ritual, Ritual, Ritual. We can Manamorphose. Adding double blue. Play an island. We can opt. Putting Serum Visions on top. Casting Serum Visions. We draw an opt. Bottom, bottom. And then just a Grape Shot for lethal. Same targets. So that one worked out kind of as we had hoped. Nice. Had to take a short break to try and catch the dog who had gotten loose. Porter was determined to chase down either a squirrel or a small fox that I think lives nearby. And he wasn't listening to my dad, so I had to lean out. And as soon as he heard me yell, he was like, "Oh no, Dad's yelling!" So he had to run back. So we probably want to braid. Unsubstantiate, while it was really good in the last game, I don't know if it's going to be good going forward. We might want Ashiok to deny our opponent the ability to search, but I don't think that's really what we want to be doing. I think Echoing Truth is probably better. I don't know if my opponent is playing any sort of Grave Hate, but if they are, we want at least 1 or 2 pieces of the puzzle in this deck. I think going down to 2 gifts, 2 pieces is fine. Yeah, I'm going to cut Unsubstantiate entirely. Let's try this. Oh, I was supposed to bring in the other Empty the Warrens if I bring in pieces, because that way you have more storm wind conditions you can hit when you cast your dig spells. Okay. Multiple cost reducers, a ritual, a repeal, and a grape shot. I think this is good enough to keep. It's not ideal, but I think it should work. Repeal actually kind of has a little bit of strength here because if my opponent goes for like a double hammer off of a Sigarda's Aid or something on turn 2 or really fast onto a 0-drop, we can just repeal the 0-drop. Okay, they played Colossus Hammer, which means they're probably going to use what's it called? Pure Steel Paladin or Core Outfitter to attach it. We're going to start by playing Riverglide Pathway, pass the turn. We can take a little bit of solace in the fact that they can't just equip Inkmoth Nexus this turn, but they will be able to next turn. Okay, they sack Sunbaked Canyon. And they're passing. I'm going to repeal right now to deny them mana. Or deny them like a attacker next turn. And get us a draw. Tap land is not great, but if we can resolve and keep a Brawler and Electromancer, it's going to be pretty good. Because next turn we could Manamorphose, play Goblin Electromancer, Manamorphose, then play Selendi Vision. And if we draw a Ritual, we can go even crazier. Okay, I want to replays Ornithopter. This also prevented them from pathing on our turn. They sacked Sunbaked Canyon again. They play a Giver of Runes. Okay. We untap. We draw an Opt. So I'm going to start with Manamorphose into red, I think. We draw pieces of the puzzle, which currently costs 2 mana. If I can draw a Ritual, we want to cast pieces of the puzzle. So that's what I'm going to do this turn. We need to draw a Ritual here. We did not. That is highly unfortunate. So I can Manamorphose into red-blue and see if I can draw anything, otherwise play Electromancer. Draw Past in Flames. So I'm going to cast Serum Visions, and then I'm going to Grape Shot to kill my opponent's creatures and do a little damage here. Draw Gifts Ungiven, Selendi Vision to the bottom, Island to the top. Play Selendi Isle, and Grape Shot. So 2 there, 2 there, 1 at my opponent. F6, and then we'll attack with Brawl. Next turn, if we can draw a Ritual, we can do some pretty crazy shenanigans playing Electro... Oh, we put Island on top. I don't know what I'm thinking. Next turn, we can play Goblin Electromancer and hold up Echoing Truth. Opponent plays land, Steel Shaper's Gift. They're going to go get Colossus Hammer, presumably. Yep. Okay, we untap. We draw on our island. Play Island, go to combat. Attack for 1. Play Electromancer. Pass the turn, leave up Opt and Echoing Truth. Next turn, if my opponent doesn't kill us this turn, we have like the guaranteed kill. So this could be Animate Inkmoth Nexus, swing Magnetic Theft, and if it is, we can Echoing Truth put the hammer back in hand. So they attack first, because hammer makes Inkmoth Nexus lose flying. Alright, no blocks. So this is like the all-in combo version. Alright, Magnetic Theft. Putting hammer on Ink Moth will respond by putting hammer back in hand. Magnetic Theft fizzles. We take 1. Opt on our opponent's end step. We find an opt, put it on the bottom. We draw Braid. Untap. We draw another Baral. So, Gifts Ungiven. Get Desperate Ritual, Pyretic Ritual, Manamorphose, and I could even just get like a land here. Past in Flames only costs 2, so yeah, I think getting a land is the way to go. Get a River Glide pathway, because that just guarantees we can cast Past in Flames no matter what. And they give us a Ritual and a River Glide pathway. Start with a Ritual. Cast Past in Flames. Ritual. Ritual. Manamorphose. Red, blue. Manamorphose. Into blue, blue. Serum Visions. Bottom. Bottom. We'll go ahead and pieces of the puzzle. Get Ritual, Ritual, that's pretty sweet. Cast and Splice. Cast again. Storm count 11. Serum Visions, we draw Past in Flames, bottom, bottom. Braid, destroy an artifact. Grape Shot. Same targets all the way down. And it looks like we got him. Alright. Was that 2 matches? Sweet. I'll see you guys in round 5. Alrighty, round 5, here we go. Seems like a really good hand we're going to keep. This is pretty close to like critical mass. Opponent starts Flooded Strand. We draw an Opt. So, play Steam Vents, cast a Serum Visions, we draw an Opt, second Electromancer, and land. I mean, really? I kind of just want both of these. So, pass the turn. Alright, so our opponent fetched up a Ketria Triome and untapped. Play a basic Plains and pass. We untap, we draw Electromancer. So we know what's on top of our deck. It's a land. So we're going to just try playing Electromancer here. If it gets countered, that's fine. We would prefer to see a mana leak here, because that means our opponent has 1 less counterspell. If we get pathed, that's completely reasonable too. We're going to get an island, because we don't need to draw the card we put on top, considering it was a land. This was basically what we wanted anyway. Alright, my opponent plays a Field of Ruin. I'm just passing. We untap, draw another island, play an island. I think I'm just going to play Electromancer and kind of just go for it, I think. Opponent is going to mana leak. I don't really want to waste these Manamorphoses, but if I draw a ritual, I can actually pay for this mana leak. So I think I'm fine doing this with one of them. Manamorphose into red-blue. Alright, it's a Steam Vents. I don't really want to use the other one up, so I'm just going to use this mana on Opt. I will draw a Baral. That kind of makes everything okay. We're not going to pay 3. Pass the turn. Our opponent's pretty far off of like Cryptic Command and all that nonsense, so this should probably be fine. If I can draw a ritual here, that'd be great. I mean, that works. So, shock Steam Vents. Play Baral. Manamorphose. Red, red. Manamorphose. Red, red. Desperate Ritual. I think I'm just going to cast Past in Flames for 3. Because if my opponent has a Remand, we can Past in Flames again. Okay, that worked. So Desperate Ritual, Manamorphose to red-blue, Manamorphose into red-blue, Manamorphose into blue-blue, because now we're going to have to start casting a lot of cantrips. We draw Grape Shot, that's great. Start Opt, Island to the bottom, Opt again. We could Grape Shot for one, flashback Past in Flames, and Grape Shot again. But that only works if Past in Flames resolves. And my opponent could be sandbagging a counter here. I think we're just going to cast a whole bunch of cantrips. Unsubstantiate, pretty sure gets us the win. So we Grape Shot, hold priority. Hold priority, unsubstantiate Grape Shot. Okay. 11 storm copies targeting our opponent. Okay. Grape Shot again. Sweet. Well, we beat Uro Omnath round 1. Let me see what kind of Grave Hate or Storm Hate they have out of the board here. So out of the sideboard, they have Engineered Explosives. They do have Veil of Summer, potentially Aether Gust, Mystical Dispute, and Ashiok Dream Render. So there's a lot of stuff that hits Gifts Ungiven there. Between Veil and Veil, Ashiok, and Mystical Dispute all hit Gifts Ungiven. So I kind of just want to go all in on an Empty the Warrens plan with pieces of the puzzle helping to dig. I'm going to drop Unsubstantiates, I think, in favor of Mystical Disputes. And I'm going to bring in Volcanic Awakening, even though it's not good, because it's pretty memey here. And we're going to drop an Opt for that. I mean, just like ritualing into a blow up all your lands has got to be good, right? One-sided Armageddon. This looks like a decent starting hand. Yeah, I'm going to keep this. See what my opponent does. Temple Garden tapped. We untap. We draw Serum Visions. So we're going to shock Steam Vents and cast a Serum Visions. We draw pieces of the puzzle. There's a Grape Shot. I'm going to put Grape Shot on the bottom, and I really actually want to draw this other pieces of the puzzle right now. In the event that this Goblin Electromancer gets pathed, having multiple pieces of the puzzle gives us plenty of opportunity to actually start reloading our hand. I could cast Serum Visions and leave up Mystical Dispute. I actually think that's better here, because we really want to draw a third land. I was just about ready to run out that Goblin Electromancer, and I think that's wrong. Pyretic Ritual is great. Solundi Vision, Desperate Ritual. I want to put both of these back. I want to draw Solundi Vision next turn. So pass. We're going to leave up Mystical Dispute. I would dispute anything blue they played this turn. So if they played like 3 mana Teferi, or if they played like Omnath next turn, could potentially be good. So we draw Solundi Vision. Play Solundi Isle tapped. One of the reasons this hand is not so great though is because we don't have a lot of blue mana. If I actually probably shouldn't have put that other Pyretic Ritual back, because we're really going to need a Manamorphose. Alright, my opponent is missing land drops. They're trying to hold up counter magic. So I think here it would be fine to just cast A pieces of the puzzle. See if we can't get our other Solundi Vision, maybe, so that we can hit our 4th land drop. Otherwise, just drawing out a counter here is going to be good enough. Okay, it's a remand. That's fine, we'll pass. I actually think I'm going to dump Past in Flames here. If my opponent does have like a Soul Guide Lantern or anything like that, I think that's fine. Losing out on Past in Flames would really suck, but don't really have an option here. Opponent did fetch, so they're intending to play something this turn. Okay, they do have a Soul Guide Lantern, so they can exile our Past in Flames. 1 mana here would be great. Another Electromancer is also kind of fine. If my opponent paths this, we can counter the path, or we can leave up Mystical Dispute for something else. Aether Gust, put it on the bottom. We don't really want to redraw that Electromancer, even as good as Electromancer is. I would rather have a 4th land. 4th land means potentially like Ritual Shenanigans post Electromancer. Play Electromancer. Opponent Aether Gusts. I will Mystically Dispute this. That should scare him. And if we had a Manamorphose, we'd be off to the races right now, but we don't. So I actually have to just pass. Okay, we get a basic. Leaning towards Mountain here. Having 2 Desperate Rituals means we can go off without having cost reduction. It's just much harder. Drawing a Baral here would make me feel a lot better. Hey, Baral. Play Brawl. My opponent mystically disputes. Oof. Oh, I need the blue mana post dispute. So I am going to pay for the mystical dispute here. Opponent growth spirals. They're missing a lot of land drops. They did just find their fourth. This would let them play Omnath, but that would be their entire turn. I'm glad that I sided into pieces of the puzzle. Okay, opponent plays Teferi. They're going to bounce Baral. They shock a Hollowed Fountain, representing they have some other kind of interaction. Well, luckily for us, we don't have... we don't really have to worry about casting things at instant speed. Baral also can't get Aether Gusted. Can't really cast and splice here, unfortunately, so we're going to start with Pyretic Ritual. Opponent does have a Lightning Bolt, we can't respond. Alright, well, we can cast and splice now. Getting a ton of mana. We do have to full price a Pieces of the Puzzle. Desperate Ritual and Serum Visions. Hang on. Cast and splice. Pieces of the Puzzle again. We really need Manamorphose, and we need a Past in Flames. Oh shoot, you know what? Past in Flames doesn't work because my opponent has an active Soul Guide Lantern, and they can just for 0 mana sack it to get rid of our grave. So we're taking Manamorphose, and we're taking Opt here. Manamorphose into double blue. Get a Salundi Vision. So, Serum Visions. We gotta have some good top decks. Pyretic Ritual counts. So we're at 5 mana right now. Storm count of 9. Okay, I think we have to opt rather than Visions here, unfortunately. Because while I could Ritual up, we really just need to hit like Grape Shot and something. All these rituals and nothing to do. Alright, so we fizzle. We have a lot of rituals in hand and some good dig here. So we could still get Empty the Warrens. We don't need our grave. And our opponent is very disciplined with their Soul Guide Lantern. They uptick to Fairy, they play a land, they're casting something. Opponent is going to Mystic Sanctuary, putting Aether Gust on top of their deck. Looks like they're playing Uro to draw Aether Gust. They gain a little bit of life. We untap. Draw Baral. We're going to exile our grave now. Okay. We go to our main. Play Baral. Ritual. Cast Salundi Vision. Gotta hit something real good here. I guess it's Opt. Manamorphose gets us mana, but it doesn't do anything else. So take Opt. Go ahead and Opt. Shivan Reef to the bottom. We draw Manamorphose. I guess I'm just gonna wait now. Not enough redraws and dig. Opponent growth spirals. Okay, they untap. They pass, we draw. Pathway. They path us, that's fine. We get an island. Go to main. Play Pathway. Alright, we'll just pass the turn. We know our opponent's holding an Aether Gust. And at this point, we really don't need cost reduction to win. We just need a win condition to win. Okay, so opponent is Mystic Sanctuarying. They're putting Remand back on top of their deck. They're going to recast Uro and draw Remand. Alright, Uro gains them life, draws them a card. They don't put a land into play. We draw nothing. Pass the turn. Oh, man. That Grave Hate really hurt. But also, us top decking only lands for like 9 turns feels like it hurts a lot too. The opponent upticks to Fairy again, they draw an extra card. The problem now is if they have a hard counter spell, like if they have a Cryptic, we're probably just done. Alright, Manamorphose. And that's gonna be game. Cool. Cool. I don't think Unsubstantiate's the way to go. I also don't think Giga Drowse is either. So I think I'm just going to run it back in this configuration for the final game here. I would like to play first. This is not a hand I can keep. Neither is this one. Some bad luck. Oof, come on. Sure, we'll put 3 cards back. Noxious Revival, Salundi Vision, Island. That hurt. Start Riverglide Pathway, pass the turn. Well, we have Mystical Dispute. It's not impossible to win from here, it's just very unlikely. If we top deck and resolve a Baral or a Electromancer, we can high roll off of Manamorphose. Like, if we draw a bunch of Manamorphoses in a row, build up mana, and then, like, the potential exists for us to just completely nuke our opponent if we draw into a big card advantage spell post rituals. Okay, opponent plays a forest, they crack Misty Rainforest, they find Steam Vents untapped into a Renin 6, which we cannot dispute. This sucks, it means they're going to be making their land drops, so there's no chance of our opponent getting choked on mana. We don't have a way to answer Renin 6. Alright, we draw Pyretic Ritual, play an island, pass the turn. So we're going to have to hold off for a long time trying to build up enough cards in hand to actually storm. Okay, opponent plays Misty, cracks Misty, and finds Island. I think if my opponent plays an Uro here, I can't counter it. I think I just have to let them... Okay, opponent upticked and did not pick up a land. We untap. We draw a Desperate Ritual. Well, we're drawing Storm cards. We just have to achieve critical mass, and maybe our opponent like taps out for an Omnath or something. Not super likely, but it's really our only hope. Opponent Growth Spirals in a Stomping Ground. Opponent plays Misty, passes, we untap. We draw Electromancer. Yeah, still gotta wait. Opponent being able to make their land drops and leave up multiple counterspells is probably what's going to kill us here. I mean, what actually killed us was having to mulligan to 4, but I'm not going to blame my skill or lack thereof for this game loss. Simply the fact that, like, occasionally, no matter what deck you're playing, unless you're playing the 35 land Titan deck, you're probably not going to... at some point, you're going to draw a hand of 7 that has no lands, and then you're going to draw a hand of 6 that has no lands, and then you're going to draw a hand of 5 that has no lands, and then you're going to be like, yeah, I'm going to accept the game loss, and we'll just go to next round. And that's kind of what happened here, which is really unfortunate. Though we have, I think, successfully demonstrated that you can play a very competitive, reasonably powerful Storm list. So we have to hope that our opponent has, like, Cryptic here, and that we can Mystically Dispute Cryptic. If they have a cheaper counterspell, there's nothing we can do. So they Aether Gust. We're going to put this on top. Pass the turn. I should not be F6'd, but I realized that too late. Doesn't matter, because we're going to need this Mystical Dispute to hopefully try and protect Goblin Electromancer. We draw Electromancer. I just realized that my opponent is at the point where they can just... activate Renin 6 Retrace and pick up a land every turn. So they can just Aether Gust from the grave. Yeah, I'm just going to concede. We don't have a real way to win at this point. And that's unfortunate, but sometimes it just is what it is. Anyway. So for a budget deck, is it good? Absolutely. It's better than I showed it off for sure. It's an actual real deck. This version, only $55, absolutely within budget criteria. There's a lot of ways you can go to upgrade it. Number 1, replacing Unsubstantiate with Remand is probably the way to go. Number 2, upgrading the mana base. You can get Spire Bluff Canals, you can get Scalding Tarns, you can get Fiery Islets. I think that's an increasing order of price. All of those will make this deck better, either through being able to thin your deck with fetch lands or having lands that you can cycle from play on the off chance that you just draw too many lands. It's kind of a big deal. In terms of like actual percentage points gained by doing that, I'm sure it's marginal, but it's important to note that there are ways to improve the deck. There's also technically better sideboard options, though I don't know them off the top of my head. I would compare against other recent lists for 5-0 Storm. Is it Storm? Once again, probably one of my worst decks. I used to play it, I used to be good at it, and it's gotten a lot less powerful, which makes it harder for me to play. So, still competitive, still a budget. I hope you enjoyed budget bracket busting. If you did, please leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel if you're so inclined, and remember you can follow me on Twitch. Same username over there as you find me on here. I stream Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, though the last few have been earlier. I want you to know that I appreciate your viewership, and I think you're all wonderful human beings. Probably this is going up in the Need for Greed slot. I don't have enough time to record Battle of Wits prior to streaming. I just physically don't have enough time. So we're skipping Need for Greed for a little bit, and then we'll work out other stuff as we go. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!